Welcome to Indie Film Podcast. This episode is dedicated to the future of indie film access.
Which could be translated to, is it good to stream your movie online for free?
And is YouTube a good launching platform for visibility?
Is it more important to make money or make my film available?
On that note, I'm Victoria.
And I am Chuck. We're two micro-budget filmmakers, and our goal with this podcast is to share our movie-making mistakes so that you don't have to. This month, we're talking about sharing our films after we've made them. So let's talk about the good and the bad of online streaming for free.
For free. That would be the key, is that there is streaming.
True.
And there is paid for streaming.
Correct. And everybody would love to have their movie on Netflix or on Amazon Prime, which you can get on Amazon Prime. There's access to that. Netflix is different, but we're talking more like YouTube, Vimeo. I mean, I don't know what there is that much outside of YouTube.
Well, there's also like Freebie and Tubi and Pluto and all those other little smaller free ones.
True. There's a lot of different options out there, and they don't pay except for ad revenue.
Yeah, which is still potentially lucrative.
Yes.
But,
so let's talk about that a little bit and talk about our experiences.
Yeah. So this kind of came about because there's been, and I feel like it was there before, but especially this year, I've seen sort of the reprisal, I guess, of a movement around just getting your art out there. Just put your movies on YouTube. Just make them available, or Vimeo, or
whatever free access, whatever platform you can get them out there so that you can get eyes on it.
Yeah. Just make your work and get it out there. And I think kind of the argument behind it is that just because it is streaming somewhere, paid for streaming somewhere, that it does not necessarily mean it's actually going to bring much revenue, but will add a lot of roadblocks to the ability of people to be able to see it. So like the overall accessibility goes down because not everybody has every streaming service.
And if you made a feature film that you then put on Amazon Prime and it doesn't have immediate star power, some B-list actor that's going to have a following, you're not necessarily going to have any visibility on that platform. And so the $5 rental is just going to be too much of a barrier to get people to watch it.
And at the end of the day, you want people to watch your movie. Whatever your motivation for having them watch your movie is, you want people to watch it. So is it worth just put your movie out there? Just get it out there in front of eyeballs for free. And so I made like a little very short pros and cons list.
Okay.
It's 3 bullet points, so it's pretty short.
Oh, nice. That is a short pros and cons list. This should be simple. This is going to be like how many long, 3 minutes now? This is going to be a 5-minute podcast. You're going to have all the answers you ever need to be a mediocre independent filmmaker. Let's
I don't know if I'd
go.
put myself in that mediocre category yet.
Middling zero budget filmmaker.
Exactly.
Let's what are these
rising star in the mediocre pond.
Yes. I want to be the top of the bell curve when it comes to micro budget cinema. I want to have equal number of people that are way better than me and way worse.
Yes.
Oh, let's talk about this. What are the pros and cons to basically putting your film on YouTube?
Okay.
Let's simplify it. Let's just talk about YouTube.
Yeah. Please understand it is a generalization, but we're using it. So the number one con is that it is apparently a very, very tiny fraction of YouTubers that actually make money, like livable money off of their projects on YouTube. It's about 0.3%.
0.3% of all channels, or
0.3% of all YouTubers.
Okay.
So some of those are not consistently publishing or not, not necessarily high quality or anything. So, you can take that with a grain of salt.
So 3 out of 1,000 people.
3 out of 1,000 people make $5,000 or more per month.
From YouTube ads? Or are you talking about like from just all the revenue sources based on getting
all the available revenue sources within YouTube?
Okay.
Now, that does not account for if they've also got additional Patreons and things like that, which could easily account for other.
OnlyFans.
Obviously, you're already doing video. Come on.
That reminds me, I need to give everybody my OnlyFans.
He can't give that. Our IP address is in Idaho. We're so sorry.
No, actually, no. I'm not allowed to sell porn in Idaho. It's just, this is how we don't find budgets for our films.
We don't want tax money from drugs. We don't want tax money from porn. We don't want it. Anyway.
So bros.
So 0.3%.
3 out of 1,000 people make $5,000 a month or more through YouTube's
available, either their partner programs, their monetization programs, or their ad programs.
Okay, which they have a very convoluted, confusing way of doing things. And then we're also learning Spotify does the same type of crap.
Yes.
Where they have paid blocks, and then Apple Podcasts. So if you're in the podcast sphere, you kind of have to dabble in a lot of different areas. But it's a lot of work to do all these different things. And these people are obviously hustling on their channels and maximizing every revenue source that is made available to them.
Exactly. Which is solid. And it can be done.
3 out of 1,000.
3 out of 1,000 people are doing it.
Or 1.5 out of 500.
That's 1.5 person.
So 3 part-time jobs out of 1,000 too. Let's see how many different ways we can slice this pie.
There we go.
All right.
Okay.
So what are some cons to free?
Well, that was the con.
Oh, okay. So
that was the downside.
One downside. There's only one downside.
There's only one downside to publishing your stuff.
What are the
for free.
2 upsides?
Okay. So there was a study from LinkedIn. So immediately take this with a grain of salt.
Right on. Okay. LinkedIn.
I don't know if I trust how unbiased their data is.
Are they owned by Google? You never know who owns what now. Or Alphabet.
Actually, I will say this. LinkedIn actually just went through and they had a major lawsuit against some different AI scraping tools that were pulling people's profile information, and they cracked hard on that.
Oh, okay.
And got it to actually stop as much as they can.
Right on. You can initially stop the AI, but eventually it'll take over.
Well,
I'm not worried about it.
Let's be honest. It's because LinkedIn wants to use their own AI to do it themselves.
Yeah.
They don't want other people profiting off their stuff. Are you kidding me? But either way, LinkedIn is not
somewhat
always
autonomous.
Yeah, they're
somewhat autonomous.
They're trying.
Cool. So, LinkedIn study. What do you
got? Indicated that 85% of jobs are coming from networking.
Okay.
Not specific to the film industry as a whole, but I will say that of all the industries, the film industry is fairly well known for networking.
True.
Like, that's a big deal. So I'm inclined to believe that is fairly reasonable, that I will take it with a grain of salt, but casually saying 85% of jobs in the film industry could come from networking feels, I'm not too hard pressed to believe that.
Okay.
So, okay. And the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics actually expects a 29% employment growth rate through 2030 for film and video professionals.
Oh, right on.
And that one I do believe a little bit more. Indeed cited it, but it is from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Okay.
So they do expect a boost in film over the next 5 years. I mean, almost 30% growth. That's pretty substantial. And when networking is such a key part of getting a job in this industry, then I feel like it almost seems more worth it, assuming your end goal is to be making film and making enough money off of film to support yourself and sustain yourself. And you do not mind working on other people's sets and major motion picture or major studio sets. Then realistically, I actually think there's a solid argument for just sharing your content online and making it available so you get seen, so people know who you are, and that you have something to point them to when you're networking and talking to them.
I think I agree with that. I think that's kind of what we've done as far as my brother and I and sister-in-law with our film projects. We don't hold back on a lot of them, except our first 2 feature films. Those are specifically behind the wall of you need to sign up for our newsletter to be able to watch those. But we did put a lot online, although I will also say that without a strategy behind your online posting, like your online sharing for free, you're not necessarily going to get out there and get a whole lot of eyes on it. Just because it is available to everyone doesn't mean anyone's going to watch your shit.
Also very true. I'm never going to discount a solid marketing strategy and self-promotion strategy because those are very important things. And as a filmmaker, especially looking to get hired onto other people's sets, you got to know how to do the work and network and put yourself out there and then have the work to back it up and show it. But finding a way to proactively get yourself in front of those eyes is hard. It's really hard.
It's a tough balance. Before I quit my job and went 100% freelance, I did go online to try to gather as much information as I possibly could for the people that were active creators in their own space, i.e., popular YouTube channels, popular podcasters. I guess that's kind of like the only realm I went into. And videographers, there's equipment reviewers. There's all sorts of stuff that you can get into in the audio video realm. And there are only a handful of people that share their own personal experiences. And it's kind of interesting there's several of them out there that will do a financial breakdown. Like,
oh, nice.
I do videography, and I also have this YouTube channel where I review equipment, and I also have these other revenue sources and break them down. And it does seem like, at least from what I was able to gather on my limited investigations, that the revenue sources on YouTube are not what people rely on, even if they're a bigger YouTuber, because there are so many more opportunities if you're able to get that many eyes on you to make more money through other activities versus just the YouTube ad revenue.
Yeah.
And anyone that I looked at when they broke down their income, and a lot of them were mediocre, like middle of the road followings, like maybe like 10 or 20,000 subscribers on YouTube.
I don't know if we should call that middle of the road when we look at our own subscriber count.
Oh, well, we're at the bottom of the list. I think we're at like 50 or 60. I mean, maybe by the time this airs, we'll be in the thousands, but not a lot of subscribers. And hey, but we're not going to make any money on YouTube ads on this channel until we get well into the thousands. And so the people that were just starting to get those subscription numbers, I think one of the guys that I saw was a videographer, and still 30% of his income was doing wedding gigs. And he keeps trying to roll back doing those wedding gigs. And I have never, ever touched a wedding gig. And I've had people ask me to shoot their weddings on several occasions, but it just makes me so nervous. And I've done live events. I've done live video events, music video events, excuse me. And I have that experience, and it wouldn't necessarily be that difficult, but the initial meetings that I've had with random people, and these were friends of friends, like I was just so like, kind of, it was off-putting because the demands increase exponentially versus shooting a musician's live gig, because a musician, in my experience, has always just been really happy to have a video record of what they have going on, and they're excited when somebody knows how to do lighting and run the camera. And then the wedding thing, I mean, I don't know, maybe some of you all have some great wedding experiences. I haven't touched it because
I've only done two.
Oh,
I've done
okay.
2 weddings.
Was it terrifying?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Now
yes.
I don't feel so bad. I mean, I guess that's why they charged 5 times the amount that you would normally charge. Take your day rate and quintuple it when you have to do a wedding.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
Oh, that's
hands
good.
down. Like to pay for somebody that is willing to shoot, you're going to pay a premium. It's not just that it's a wedding tax, because instantly anything associated with a wedding is 10 times more expensive than it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's not just that. It's because of the pressure.
Yeah.
You want to know why a birthday cake versus a wedding cake is going to cost twice as much for that wedding cake? Maybe more than twice as much. I guess it depends.
Mm-hmm.
It's because so much more is on the line.
Yeah.
Man, the stakes. I have been in casinos where the stakes are not as high as somebody's wedding day. Like, it's horrifying. It's so scary because you get one shot.
Yeah.
You get one chance.
Well, I mean, that's not taking into consideration the 50% divorce rate, but
I'm talking about for the videographer. They're only going to say I do once. They're only going to have that first kiss once.
Yeah.
And if you don't catch it perfectly, you're boned.
Yeah, and they're going to be super pissed.
They are going to be so upset.
And there's no amount of discount that you can give them that's going to make it okay, because they can't go back and do another take.
No.
And like I said, unless they're getting divorced again, and then they won't hire you back on the second wedding. Which is also a statistic that people that get married a second time, the reason divorce rates, this is so random that I know this statistic.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with film. But if anybody is a wedding videographer, yeah, if that's what you're into, you know, if you do a really good job, the people that get divorced, the reason why the divorce rate is 50% is that there is a smaller group of people that are remarrying a lot. So when you put them all into the overall realm of that's how you get the 50%. It's not because like it's just like an even split, like half people get divorced. It's like there's like a third or 40% of the people that are just like they get married like 5 times, and we all have that uncle and aunt. I think doesn't everybody have the uncle and aunt that they just like they're on their 7th wife or husband, and it's like well, that's just what they do. That's just what they do.
Some people just love love.
They do love, and if you're a wedding videographer, kudos to you because that is something that I've been way too terrified to ever tackle, and maybe we should get back off of this tangent.
Oh, fair.
So the videographers that I follow online on YouTube, there's some great ones out there, and the ones that do break down their income, it was pretty cool to see that and see that also, you know, when they're at the 10, 20, 30,000 subscriber mark, the YouTube income is still very minimal, but they are leveraging that to be able to get advertising money from other companies, you know,
get sponsorships and product placements.
Acquiring gear is another thing that some of these people have been able to do. That's pretty awesome. But I will say it's time consuming.
Yeah.
And even with just the time that we've separated out in our daily lives to release this podcast because we're passionate about sharing mistakes that we've made.
Because there are plenty.
There's a lot of them. There's enough to where we were like, we can start a whole podcast about all these things that nobody told us and we had to learn ourselves. And the time that we have to put into this, imagine having to do equipment reviews and setting up the shots and getting all that stuff. And these gentlemen and ladies are setting up these channels and spending a whole bunch of time on that. And it's like, imagine how hard it would be to do that and create films,
wedding videos, and create a class about how to do a wedding video, and
make a short film and try to actually do the art that you want to do, because that's what our focus has always been, is trying to make our own art versus, you know, doing videography gigs or whatever. But you got to do them.
But
it's better than working for someone. Let me tell you that. I learned that in the last 6 months or 9 months. Whew. Definitely, if you can get it figured out.
You can get it figured out and stop selling your soul to a giant corporation.
Yeah. I mean, it's stressful, though, as far as like the paychecks are concerned, because you never know when the next one's going to be. So.
You don't know. You don't know. I feel like there's an entire pros cons list to freelancing as a whole.
Yeah. Yes, makes sense. But we should probably get back to the free streaming. So the people, the eyes on it, at least from what I was able to investigate on the YouTube channels, I probably should have written down some of the people that I follow so people can check out the videos. But there's a plethora of them out there.
There's also Google. You can find them.
Google it.
Because they have a good marketing strategy and a solid SEO plan, and they will pop up when you Google them.
They're pretty good about that. Getting eyes on things. We didn't know how to do that with Lower Gentry Studios at all at first. And we assumed, because when you assume things, you make an ass out of you and me. We made asses of ourselves when we assumed that when we released our first web series onto YouTube, it would get all sorts of traction.
Yeah.
But we talked about that in a previous episode, that we didn't know how to correctly present our first episode of the web series to the people, to our targeted audience. And so the roll off from episode 1 to episode 2 was pretty substantial. And then it rolled off even further to episode 3. So all that stuff is very tricky to get eyes on things. The one thing that I will say that has been working for us in the last year and a quarter or year and a half is to have the newsletter. So at least that we're in control, instead of the social media, of being able to communicate directly to the people that have seen some of our projects and have liked them.
Yeah.
So you're in marketing. Maybe you can tell us some ideas on how somebody that is going to take a project like a short film and put it on the internet and just be like, I'm going to make this on YouTube for free. Maybe it's their first video on a YouTube channel that they've never created a YouTube channel before. What would you do to help them get eyes on that, and then also get engagement to where they could communicate directly with their fans and help them raise money on the next project?
Immediately?
Yeah.
Oh, and they're going to hate this. first video that's going up, pop 30 more up there and then we'll chat about a strategy.
Oh, okay. Right on. Okay.
Prove to people that you are in it for the long run. Prove to people that this isn't just a flash in the pan. I made a short film. Here it is.
Okay.
And that's the last time you ever heard from them.
Right on.
Don't do that. Don't be that person. Get a couple of videos up there, and maybe you don't need 30, but get a couple of videos up there. Try to get more eyes on it. If you can, cut little short snippets of it and share those around social, especially because social ad budgets are so inexpensive. Like, you can run a pretty solid reach on a social ad just like for engagement, even just to watch like a full playthrough of a 30-second clip or something. I mean, you could do that for, $10 over the course of a week, right?
Okay.
It's and you would get views. You would get views on it, especially if you're boosting an existing organic post as opposed to just creating its own standalone ad. If you boost an organic post that you already have up, maybe your friends and family have liked it so far, or maybe you have no followers whatsoever and you're starting from scratch. Mm-hmm. Either way, you'll get more eyes on it. You'll get a little bit more exposure. You can get things out there and have that as like a, hey, do you want to see the rest of this? Because it's all on YouTube, and then send people over there and try to boost your subscriber count that way. You can kind of do the same thing if you're trying to get people on some sort of a paid thing, so like a newsletter or a Patreon subscription, or I feel like there are a couple of those and I can't think of other OnlyFans, whatever it is that you've got. And, share your first act, if you will. Share act one. Make act one available. But if you want to see, the rise up to the climax and actually how it all plays out, acts 2 and 3 are behind this paywall. You have that as an option if you want to try to start making money. I will say, if it's your first video that's up there, I don't know if you'll get anybody to do that.
True.
But you never know until you try, I guess. Solid, go for it.
It's kind of like a lottery ticket if that first video takes off. It's like you won the lottery. You guess you never know.
Somebody wins.
Yeah, that's
Not
true.
Not always, but somebody usually wins. So
who the hell knows? You might just grab a random hashtag and the algorithm, the robots decide that you're going to be popular.
It might work out really, really well. So you've got options for that. But I would almost say at that point, it matters more that the content exists, and that as you continue to make more and you continue, I mean, it's kind of what you've seen with our podcast, right?
Yeah.
We've put zero money into any of the marketing budget whatsoever. We didn't ask our friends and family to go like this page or follow this page or subscribe to us on blah, blah, blah. Like, we didn't ask for any of those things.
We just shared.
We do share them with our social networks,
correct,
to be fair. But it's sort of just selfishly, because I am that marketing nerd, a test to see what organic growth it actually has, to be able to more accurately monitor trends and demographics of who's interested in our stuff and what content performs well and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I like having that really accurate raw data. Mm-hmm. My aunts, my uncles, my family that have been married 7 times, like, they're not
the people that you want following you if they're not passionate about what you're doing.
Exactly. And they're not, because I have not asked them to.
No.
And anyone that's ever been trying to build a social media following knows that you have to ask people specifically to go do something, to like your page, to go check out your GoFundMe for your next film.
Yeah.
You have to talk to them individually. You can't even just press the ask my friends to like this button. You have to actually send a personalized message and ask them to be involved and show them. Because, that whole personal favor thing, asking people for favors can actually build you up in their mind as a more worthy person of receiving said favors. I don't know. It's a really weird phenomenon. Human brains are weird.
Why do people call me an asshole all the time? Why don't they hold me in higher regard?
I love that you enunciated that so well.
Well, got to be. Otherwise, it's not as funny.
Okay. One thing we did have, and this feels important for me to share. I'm really excited about it because, as I said, this is all very organic growth on our side. So it's kind of just, thanks for watching.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We really hope that you're learning something from these mistakes so that you do not make them.
We'll say that every single podcast, at least 4 times.
At least 4 times. But seriously, thank you. and I hope it's helpful, or at least mildly entertaining. Anyway, we do have one person who reached out to us with a question.
Yes.
And
listener question time.
Yeah, and I was really excited about somebody wanted to ask us something and just get our 2 cents on, and it's a little meta. It's a little esoteric, so I don't have a detailed good answer. Sorry, Ryan. I don't even know if somebody asks you something, if you're allowed to just say their whole name.
I think it's okay if we just say Ryan.
Okay,
I don't
Ryan.
know. I don't know what the rules are on the internet. You can say whatever the hell you want because they don't know if we're making it up.
They don't know. But Ryan from Instagram, if you're still out there and
Thank you,
watching,
Ryan.
Asked, are movies becoming too expensive, and will making them for cheaper, a few million versus hundreds of million, be the solution? Which immediately puts me on an Nora rant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I already did that, so I won't do that again.
That's okay. You can revisit last week's.
I don't need to revisit. It's just, I don't know if I would call a $6 million budget an indie film. I would call it an independent film, but I think indie and independent are becoming more different.
True.
Anyway.
Because Netflix is making their own crap.
Yeah.
Which I would definitely title a lot of those shows Netflix is releasing now as crap. And they're probably in that $6 million budget
They are,
realm.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know,
but I don't know if I would call...
It reminds me of CW stuff. Like,
yeah.
some of the shows that they're releasing, it makes me think of like not even the Flash CW, because that one seemed like it had
Supernatural CW.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Supernatural was a very popular CW show that I happen to very much so love.
Yeah.
But you see Netflix stuff, you see Hulu stuff, you see Apple TV stuff, you see all of those in major awards and stuff they're winning.
Yeah.
Emmys, Oscars, SAG. I don't actually know. I don't know the names of the different awards.
That's okay. But they're winning awards and they're getting cheaper. But then our cohort, which is not even the several $1 million cohort.
No.
These are the people that just happen to save up enough money to get some film equipment at the basic level to be able to do what they need to do to tell a story. Then we're looking at, is it even lower budget stuff, lower time commitment stuff to be able to execute these things, to be able to post regularly, and then separating time for your larger projects when you can get enough of a following to be able to bother them for that. And that's kind of one of the things that we've been running into with Lower Gentry Studios, is that we did do the let's crank out a whole bunch of stuff. We created 2 web series on YouTube. This is the second podcast that I've been a part of, because we started Treasure Valley Podcast, which is a podcast for the Boise area. And then we did our live music series. But the thing is we were trying to create so much content that it wasn't specific enough. Yeah. So we had our narrative films on our YouTube channel. We had a podcast that was about this local area. And then we had a live music podcast. Yeah. And so the thing is the people that were on our channel to watch the live music didn't give a shit about our web series. Yeah. Because they wanted to watch the next musician group that came up. And there was a little bit of crosstalk for the
especially for local stuff.
Yeah, the musicians that were into, a lot of them are just artists, and so they're into narrative story, and so some of those people would watch our web series, but our web series people didn't go over to the live music stuff necessarily either. There wasn't a lot of cross-pollination, and we were casting a little bit too wide of a net. Yeah. I would say, rather than like making individual things specifically for those goals, or individual channels specifically for those goals.
Well, I think a good example of that is easily relatable here is Yum food brands. Oh. Because nobody knows what Yum.
I don't know what Yum is.
It's got an exclamation point and everything.
Oh, okay.
But it's...
that sounds tasty.
Right?
Yeah.
And I believe this is accurate. I should have Googled this to double check, but I believe it is.
Somebody
Taco
can complain.
Bell. It is Taco Bell.
Oh, yes.
KFC and Pizza Hut.
Oh, nice.
You could not have a restaurant with all those things together. Nobody would eat there, because what the fuck is that?
Well, they're actually in my small town where I grew up in Yankton, South Dakota.
There was a
KFC Taco Bell.
Yes.
There was a KFC Taco Bell.
But they still didn't put Pizza Hut in there.
No, that would have been a monstrosity.
Plus the equipment and everything that you need.
Yeah, I guess pizza is a little bit different. Everything goes in a fryer in KFC and Taco Bell. Probably the same fryer.
No.
Different seasonings.
The little chalupa shells and the potato products go into the fryer, but actually a lot of the stuff doesn't go into the fryer at Taco Bell.
Okay. Well, you worked there, so
I worked there.
You would know better.
I could tell you that, yeah. Anyway.
If my own freelance business doesn't go well, I might be working at Taco Bell in a month.
I actually would recommend Taco Bell. I would.
Okay, good. Good to know.
I've worked a lot worse places, and at the time, minimum wage was $5.25, and they still paid us $6 an hour.
Right on. Oh, that's nice. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll be able to get, because it's $7.25 now. Maybe I can get $8 an hour if this doing videography doesn't pay the bills. I'll take it. Whatever. Who cares? Money's pretend.
It's fine. It's fine.
So let's talk about like
but the
releasing
idea-
the content. It's probably better to make sure that your content is a little bit more in line, versus what we were trying to do, instead of releasing like 3 different types of content, which is fine, but you want to make sure that you are strategizing on each one of those differently as far as how you want to engage with the audience. And so maybe, I don't know, what do you think about people that would be trying to release really lower effort, I guess, short form content, and then trying to build a following around that, and then using that following to try to GoFundMe, raise funds for a higher quality short film that they could then shop at a film festival, or ideally like a feature film, which is, that's a hell of a lot of work.
I would push for the feature at that point. I'd use those smaller shorts. If you get that following, absolutely, they want to see what you would do. I guess you'll have to kind of shoot another short to pitch and discuss this project, kind of like on every GoFundMe project, right? You always see the fundraising video that's up there that tells you about the project, that has interviews or whatever with some of the creators and key players and whatnot.
Yeah.
So have all of that, discuss all of that. But I think an important part of it, for sure, is to make it in line. If you make things of a certain style and a certain like slant or a certain topic or something along those, if you appeal to certain demographics with your product, you should make sure that the product you're now trying to get all of the people who have liked all of the things in this one, make sure it's got at least a little bit of overlap. Yeah. Because that would be like, you put Chit Chat, you put all your live film stuff, you put Canyon County, you put Stockton, all of it on your YouTube channel, and then you tell people, we're fundraising for Treasure Valley Podcast.
Yeah, and it's like, that doesn't quite make
sense.
It's
not, the people that liked all that other stuff might not go into.
I want to bring up a point too right now while you're talking about making sure that you're still appealing to the demographics that you appeal to. I have a Rick Rubin quote that I want to talk about.
It's
as far as
to be fair, I'm not saying
marketing.
Necessarily appealing to the same. I'm saying, no, I guess I am. No, I'm just gonna own it. I'm saying that.
No,
I am.
And that's fine. I just, because there's a Rick Rubin quote going around, and it's, the audience comes last. I'm not making it for them. I'm making it for me. And he's basically saying the audience doesn't know what it wants. Yeah. But I feel like there's a distinction between understanding that and making the art that you want to make, and then finding out there is a certain type of people that like this.
Yeah.
And then using that strategy to be able to get more eyeballs on what you've already done. So it's not like, because I have heard examples of people trying to do the backwards thing and say, well, this is really hot right now, I'm going to make a movie that appeals to, guys that want to watch another white dude rant on a microphone on a podcast. And I'm just making this.
I was going to say Hallmark movie, but okay, sure.
I was just making this joke because we found out that, like, for some reason, like on certain social media channels, when I start ranting on the microphone and we cut that into a vertical video, it takes off a little bit more than certain other content.
Yeah, apparently ranting isn't nearly as interesting. Fine.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, if you're trying to go put the cart before the horse in that way, sometimes your art comes off as ingenuine. But if you're making something that you truly want to make, I think that the benefit of having it out there and available is that you can start to find out, some of these demographic information. And like it or not, YouTube does know how to get people down rabbit holes of watching videos.
They do. And if you want your video seen by people that are interested in it, YouTube's gonna know if they're interested in it.
Yeah, and people can be grouped into cohorts and certain, whatever you're trying to make. If you're making a horror film, YouTube knows
if you like horror films.
And they know a whole bunch of people that like horror films. And if you can mess around with those hashtags and then take your short film and cut it into vertical segments and put flashy titles on the top and whatever, you might be able to get some more traction on your channel, or horror or action, or I suppose there's not a lot of action people that are making zero budget movies because that's expensive.
A lot harder.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm all in favor of that. But it is, like we said earlier, it's a lot of time and effort.
It is
to put into that type of project, like building up a YouTube channel, because it's like 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 as far as like doing the thing that you're there to do versus doing all the administrative stuff necessary to get eyeballs on it.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
So do you have any other thing to add to the distribution on free platforms?
I feel like there was one thing that I had, and I wish I could remember the name of the guy giving the webinar, because he was actually fairly involved in some distribution stuff, and he had thoughts around something like this. And basically he said that there are 4 goals for your film. It's either compensation, so you'll make money, exposure or career for somebody, like your actor, the director, the production company, somebody.
Okay.
Awareness, because there's a cause that you want to share with the world.
Okay.
Or visibility, you just want people to see your film. Either because of skill set or topic or something. And obviously awareness and visibility similar, but awareness shares more about a cause and enlightens people about a cause.
Okay.
So basically you get to pick one. Your film will not do more than one of those. Very, very rarely will it do more than one of those. So you got to pick one.
Right
and
on.
Depending on whether or not visibility is your highest one, or maybe, helping somebody's career out by being able to point them to this video that everybody can see, maybe the free streaming availability is your best bet.
Yeah, and making a whole bunch of content, and some of it that's not of the highest quality. Sometimes that might be necessary en route to making something that's, something that you can cherish for a very
Eternity.
long time. Yeah. So I like that. Do you have anything else?
Just a succinct goodbye.
Sounds good. Goodbye.
Bye.